Tennessee's got its November cupcake tomorrow, and there's several things Tennessee must do in a game like this.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 podcasting network available. I'm your host, Cain, a member of the VolQuest.com team here in town, covering your Tennessee Volunteers. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast weekday mornings when you wake up, and of course, after football games. On today's show, Boogie Bentley is going to join us, and we're going to go over some expectations for the program, what those should be every single year. Going to revisit the topic from yesterday, quarterback strategy. Should you go high school? Should you go portal? We'll also name some underclassmen that Tennessee better play a lot in a game like tomorrow, again, New Mexico State. But first, the keys for Tennessee in a game like this, where it's one of those things where, obviously, this isn't a Florida. This isn't a Alabama. This isn't a Georgia. This isn't even an Arkansas or Mississippi State. This is not an SEC contest. This is your November non-conference game, and it's not a good one. It is New Mexico State that has got a 3-6 record on the season, 1-5 in Conference USA play. Not a very good ball club, but it's there for the taking. It's an opportunity for Tennessee to go out there and do what it wants to do, accomplish what it wants to accomplish. And, my key phrase here, this week, or really for this episode in a game like this, is look the part. You've got to look the part and do what you want to do, because in a game like this where New Mexico State is not very good, sure, you're out of the playoff, but you still need to win convincingly. You need to win by as much as you want to win by. Look the part. It's not that hard. You are a much better football team, and I expect Tennessee to fully do that. I think Tennessee's done a really good job in these cupcake games, if you will, during the Josh Heupel era. The only one that comes to mind where Tennessee just didn't look like it was ready to play was 2023 against Austin Peay. That was a disgusting football game. But all the other games Tennessee's handled these weeks very good. Also, I think Tennessee, coming off such a disappointing loss to Oklahoma, just wanted to get back out there and play. And what an opportunity to kind of, exercise some demons, if you will, in a game like this against the Aggies of New Mexico State. So here are some things that I need to see from Tennessee tomorrow. There's a couple of them are some lofty goals, but, this isn't a Kent State type game where that was the worst football team I've literally ever seen in my life at the Division I level, the FBS level. I don't think it's going to be that type of outcome or that type of game. But these are some lofty goals that I think Tennessee needs to accomplish in a game like this. The first one is start fast, and that's not too lofty. Tennessee is a good starting football team. Tennessee starts very, very fast in football games. Starting from the season opener against Syracuse, marched down the field, kicked a field goal. The Georgia game comes to mind where Tennessee just, put up 21 points against the Bulldogs in the first quarter and, marched the length of the field and scored on a Joey Aguilar quarterback keeper there at the goal line from like 4 yards out on its opening drive. Tennessee has done a really good job starting for the most part this football season, and you need to go ahead and set the tone for the game early. So go down there, score a touchdown if you get the ball first. If you are playing defense first, force a takeaway or whatever, or just a 3-and-out, get the football back to the offense and let them go score. Set the tone early. That way you can empty the bench quicker, is what I'm trying to say. So start fast. If you don't start fast in this football game, it will be embarrassing, and it will certainly look like you're sleepwalking through a game where you're supposed to win by as much as you want to win by. The second key, or the second goal, I guess, for me in this football game is I want to see Tennessee's run game get back to where it needs to be. Now, Tennessee's on pace to rush for 2,300 yards this season. That's a really good year, okay? But when you put it into perspective, and in 4 years Josh Heupel's been here, Tennessee has accumulated 2,500 yards on the ground each of the 4 years. The 2,300 is kind of a bummer, right? Even though that's still a really, really good year. So I'm not sitting here and saying that Tennessee's going to somehow average 231 yards over the last 4 games, one of those games being the bowl game, to get to that 2,500 mile marker, if you will. But I do expect Tennessee to run for a crap ton of yards against New Mexico State. And here's how I think they're going to do it. I think DeSean Bishop's going to get back to being, he's certainly not in a slump, but he had that really good, game against Arkansas and then, over to Alabama. And, he looked like one of the better running backs in the SEC. He's number 6 in the league in rushing right now. He scored 9 touchdowns. Would be great to see DeSean Bishop get over the century mark in this game early. That way you can give way to some other guys, in your backfield. And I think as a team, Tennessee needs to accomplish 250 yards rushing. That is obviously more than its season average. But in games like this, if you don't get to 200 yards, in my opinion, it's kind of like it's a bummer. I think it's very easily attainable to get to 200 yards on the ground. I was thinking 300 in this segment, but I don't want to get too greedy. I think 250 is very solid. Again, I don't care who you're playing. I think 250 rushing yards is really solid. But I think Tennessee needs to kind of set the tone on the ground, get back to being a running football team where it's been anything but consistent this year, or at least where it needs to be. And I think Tennessee can do that with DeSean Bishop, obviously, and Star Thomas, and along with Peyton Lewis, the first three guys that are going to get opportunities in this football game. So get 250 yards on the ground. If you get anything less than 200, I think that's disappointing. If you don't get 250, but you're over 200, okay. If you get 250 or more, it's a good day. Defensively, this one might be lofty. This one might be a bit ambitious, but again, for an offense in New Mexico State that has turned the football over 17 times on the year, maybe it's not. Tennessee needs to force 3 turnovers. Tennessee needs to force at least 3 takeaways. And Tennessee's defense has been very opportunistic. Tennessee is tied for the SEC lead in 16 takeaways, okay? New Mexico State has turned the football over 17 times. So it's not like you're going out on a limb here and saying Tennessee's going to do something it hasn't done in a while. Tennessee's, taken the football away, or took the football away, multiple times against several SEC opponents. So go out there in this one against an offense that is very turnover prone and accumulate at least 3 takeaways to get the football back to your offense. I don't think that's asking an awful lot. What's mind-blowing to me is with this New Mexico State team, you have the Aggies, who are +3 in the turnover margin. +3 as a team in the turnover margin. But I've already mentioned the Aggies have turned the football over 17 times. So that means the defense has created 20 takeaways of their own. That's really good. 20 takeaways defensively, yet you're only +3 in the turnover margin. That's nasty business. I cannot believe you're only +3 in the turnover margin in that regard. That is truly nasty business. So I'm looking at this game where Tennessee just needs to go out there and dominate. Start fast, which is not out of the realm possibility because Tennessee starts fast anyway. Accumulate 250 yards or more on the ground. Accumulate 3 takeaways defensively. And if you do all those things, you're going to do what I said to begin this segment. You're going to look the part. Just go out there and look the part. I mean, you are a superior football team playing an inferior opponent. You just came off a loss 2 weeks ago that was very disappointing at home, where you don't lose, that knocked you out of the college football playoff push. So go out there, dominate. If Tennessee plays its first string in the second half, I think that's disappointing. Now, defensively, they'll mix and match some guys. I mean, that's how they always do. But I'm talking like if Joey Aguilar comes out and plays the first series of the third quarter, which Josh Heupel loves to do, give him credit. They did not do that against UAB because it was like 42-6 at halftime. But if the first string offense comes out there and runs a series or more in the second half, I think that's very disappointing. So who were some young guys that I'm looking forward to getting into the action? I'm looking forward to seeing what they got and kind of furthering the point that we talked about earlier in the week. This November non-conference game, what an opportunity to show some of those guys some love, some of those guys that you want to be a part of things moving forward, some of those guys that you might be relying on to play a big role for your team in 2026. Who are some of those guys? Who are some of those guys I'm looking forward to going out there and balling out against New Mexico State in this cupcake game coming up in November for homecoming and your salute to service game, where Tennessee's going to be donning the new iteration of the Smoky Grays, this year's iteration of the Smoky Grays. I will tell you alongside Boogie Bentley when we return right here at your Friday morning. Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown last week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. Well, Tennessee was on bye week, so I'm going to look at the season as a whole. And I'm going to go back to the guy that I talked about in segment number 1. Sure, you'd like for him to have a little bit more yards the last couple of weeks, but I think DeSean Bishop's been fantastic this year. Sure, he's not tied for the lead, 8 touchdowns in the SEC receiving, or leading the SEC, or I think he's leading the SEC in receiving touchdowns and tied for the lead league lead in receiving yards. That's Chris Brazel I'm talking about. But DeSean Bishop's been such a remarkable story. His 9 touchdowns rank among some of the highest in the SEC. He's 6th leading rusher in the conference. His story coming from Carnes High School has been really phenomenal and year over year. And I'm so glad to see it paying off on the big stage this year in a massive way. So it's no fluke. DeSean Bishop's been really, really solid all year long for the Tennessee Volunteers, and DoorDash can be like that for you on Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, head on over to Saturday, or you can save every Saturday with your order. You can stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250 and $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period ends November the 18th. We got Boogie Bentley of the Talking Vols Network joining us here on a Friday morning, getting you set for the Tennessee-New Mexico State game. Boogie, again, really quick, then we'll hit on some things we actually got planned. I'm excited to see Tennessee play football. I bet they're excited to go out there and play football. Disappointing loss, bye week, New Mexico State week. I think it's to the point where it's like you don't care. The juice is going to be there because you don't give a crap who it is. You just need to get back out there and play at this point, right?
Yeah, and you still got 2 big games coming up after this, but I'm with you, man. I'm ready to get out there, play some football, not to bury the lead. Going to get into some young guys today. But I want to see George McIntyre. It is what it is. We can argue. Man, I'm going to lay out the whole show for you. We're going to talk about quarterbacks in the SEC, in the country. I want to see George. If Jake is leaving in January, if that's true, if that's factual, then give me George McIntyre. Just go out, take care of business. And are we going to see Jermod McCoy? There's a few questions about the game coming up on Saturday. But, yeah, I'm with you, man. The bye weeks are in the past. The bye weeks are over. You got to find something to play for. College football playoff off the table. But I think this team isn't going to have a hard time getting up, getting fired up, ready to go play against Florida, getting ready to go play against Vanderbilt. We're playing spoiler the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So, yeah, I'm ready to get back out on the grass.
I would direct you to the SEC injury report, but since this is not an SEC game, there's not one. I mean, we had conversations in our VolQuest chat, like, yeah, we'll do the injury report here. You know, on the Rocky Top Roundtable, we recorded earlier in the week, and I think AP said, yeah, we'll check the injury report. And it's like, oh, wait. There's no injury report because
I don't think I realized that till just now. We did a show Wednesday night and we were talking about the injury report and we're looking for it. We're waiting for it. Now it all makes sense. Makes sense right here on a Friday morning.
There you go. How about that? All right. So in a game like this, again, you got to handle the week with maturity. You got to go out there. You got to start fast. I mean, you're playing an inferior opponent, blah, 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 blah. We know all that. All right. Tennessee's up 35-7 at half. Tennessee's up 48-14 in the third quarter. All right. Empty the bench. Who are some young guys that, and again, I talked about this earlier in the week, like I think these games, though, there's not a lot of juice and it's kind of lame, you know, the non-conference cupcake in the month of November. You need to show young guys love. You need to show guys that, hey, we want you to be a part of things moving forward. Go play 2 quarters. Like, we're expecting you to be our tackle next year or our third tackle or our strong side defensive end, you know, whatever. Like go out there and play. Like we believe in you. Like, don't go to the transfer portal. I'm not saying these guys are going to go to the portal, but, you know, in this era, you got to show some love. So who are some young guys that you want to see go out there and ball out?
Yeah, I thought it was funny because I asked you this question. When was, man, it was going all the way back to the Monday after the Oklahoma game. And you kind of laughed and said, Boogie, we're already playing a lot of young guys. And that's the truth, man. You look at so many freshmen on this team. The guys, the top 2 guys that stick out to me, Isaiah Campbell, Ethan Utley. I know those guys have been playing. Maryion Dye's another one. I want to see their snap count ramped up. I want to see them. I maybe want to see them even early in the game, right? First quarter, get those guys involved in the rotation. Why not? It's a glorified scrimmage. You're going to take care of business. You guys in the media are asking Joey Aguilar, like, when are you getting out of the game? When are you going to, you're going to blow them out? It's like, if that kind of conversation is taking place, get Ethan Utley involved early. Get Isaiah Campbell, Maryion Dye involved early. We talked about the young linebackers. When you were on my show, and Jaden Perlotti's already playing a lot. Give me a little bit more Jaden Harmon, Sidney Walton at safety. Just so many young guys that I want to see. But somebody in my chat Wednesday night, we were talking about this same topic, and they brought up a name, and I was like, that's a good name to talk about, and that's Dwan Morris. Where has he been? We saw him a lot early in the year, and then he kind of disappeared just a little bit. I would love to see him get back out there. I think he's got so much potential in this Josh Heupel offense. But the one for me is George McIntyre. And, you know, I said it at the top of the show, say it again. If Jake Merklinger is transferring, and there's so much speculation, is it rumor, is it factual? When AP puts it out there over on the general's quarters, if all question says Jake is not going to be here in January, That's a pretty cold, hard statement. That doesn't sound like rumor. That sounds like knowledge. So if Jake's gone, how do you handle that? Don't go too deep into this. I know you got stuff you want to talk about, but do you play Jake? I know he's QB2, but if Jake's leaving, Jake's leaving. Are you loyal to that? Do you show Jake the respect for giving his all for Tennessee? I don't blame Jake for leaving, but I'm focused on Tennessee and I'm focused on the future. I'm playing George McIntyre. I'm not playing Jake.
So, I mean, I can't speak for Austin, okay? And I'm not trying to speak for Austin, but, like, I don't think Jake's, like, told the coaches, hey, like, December I'm out. Like, let's get to the end of the year and all that. Like, I don't think he's done that. So
we all expect it, though,
yeah,
right?
I think everybody expects that. But I think you're operating business as usual. And, Jake Merklinger is your backup quarterback. So, I mean, I would play George McIntyre first, but I wholeheartedly expect Tennessee to play Joey Aguilar, Jake Merklinger, and then George McIntyre. But here's where it is, like, that UAB game, and they were going to put George in with, like, 2 minutes to go or whatever, and, like, they were just going to hand it. I mean, that's bull crap. Like, don't do that. Like, first and foremost, Aguilar should never appear in the second half of this game. You should give a quarter or a drive and a half. I mean, switch out mid-drive. I don't give a crap. Make sure George McIntyre gets at least 2 or 3 series of not just handing the football off. Like, let him get some work in. And to your point about DeJuan Morris, and I think it's just such a crowded backfield. I mean, there's just no hope for him this year. It's unfortunate because I think that he can actually help. I like DeJuan Morris next year to be, if they keep it a 3-man rotation or whatever, like, he's going to play. Maybe he can surpass somebody or whatever, but let him run behind, like, the starting offensive line a little bit. Give him some run, like, no pun intended. Don't let him run behind some of these guys that are on second or third team. Like, give him a true look. And so, yeah, GMAC is who I want to see first in the game. It's not going to happen that way. DeJuan Morris is on my list. The number one person I wrote on my list is Maryion Dye. You mentioned him. Maryion Dye can be your starting strong side defensive end next year, right? I mean, him or Weathersby, like he's going to be a big piece of your defensive line next year. Jaden Harmon I have mentioned down here. A couple other names I have mentioned, Rodarius Jackson, and he gets in every now and again. Like, he's obviously the one that goes in to spell one of the outside guys, but give him some extended run and throw him the football, right? See what he can do. I'd love to see if Travis Smith could play. I don't think he can, but I'd love to see him in a game like this as well. DeSean Brame, seen a little bit of action. Like, this is one of those games, like, I think Ethan Davis had a couple of receptions against UConn a couple years ago. This should be that game for DeSean Brame. Like, throwing the football. And they did. Was it gosh, what game was it? Was it Oklahoma they put him in that last drive? They just kept throwing. No, it was Alabama. Whatever. They just kept throwing the football in the last drive. Tennessee was losing. And they just kept throwing the football. Like, do that to him a little bit early on, because I think DeSean Brame is the guy that can certainly help you as well. One other one, and I'm intrigued to see kind of where he is this offseason. I think Bennett Warren's a guy that holds a lot of power, in my opinion. Like, I think we all expect Lance Hurd to be going to the NFL draft. So you have David Sanders. Jesse Perry can obviously play tackle. Bennett Warren. Do they want to continue having Jesse Perry on the interior? Have Bennett Warren as one of your tackles? If not, Bennett Warren's got to be your third tackle. Like, Bennett Warren can go and be like, yo, show me the money. Because they do not want Bennett Warren to leave. Like, he's another one I want to see go in there and, play some legit ball. Like, but throw him in there with the first team at points in times. You can do that in a game against the Aggies of New Mexico State. You can. So those are some of those names. Again, you mentioned most of them, but I'll throw in Bennett Warren, DeSean Brame, and Rodarius Jackson as well.
Yeah, I like Rodarius Jackson. When you talk about him, I put him in the same conversation as Ethan Utley, Isaiah Campbell, and you mentioned Morris. Let him play with the ones. I want to see what Rodarius Jackson looks like in the regular rotation. Get these guys in early. Let them run that full offense and see what it looks like. I'm with you on that. Rodarius Jackson and Morris, I want to see him run with the ones, not the twos and threes.
Everybody talks about Tennessee being a young team, and I saw the graphic, and I know you talked about it as well. But, like, and I know that I've said Tennessee does play some young guys, but I sit here and think about it, like Tennessee also plays a ton of old guys. But, like, sit here, like, wide receiver, you're starting 2 sophomores, and they've been good. Braylon Staley, a chance to go over 1,000 yards. That's awesome. Tight end, you play 2 veterans, and then Jack Van Dorsletter's played a lot, so there's that. On the offensive line, David Sanders now plays. Jesse Perry is a redshirt freshman, or is he a redshirt sophomore? I can't remember.
I think he's a redshirt freshman. Yeah, redshirt freshman.
He's a redshirt freshman. Shamie Morrow's an older guy. Everybody else is old on that offensive line. Defensive line-wise, I mean, they play a ton anyway. Jordan Ross is playing some. Maryion Dye is playing some. I'm trying to think of young guys. Ethan Utley, Isaiah Campbell, just a little bit. Linebacker Perlotti, Harmon a smidge, Walton at safety. Ty Redmond, of course. So, yeah, I mean, Tennessee, like, if you can hold this group together, and that's why I think in this era of college football, roster retention is so important. Like, sure, I think Tennessee should have went out and got some, portal help at safety. Go figure, right? Like, they should have done that. But keeping the roster intact last year where they weren't as aggressive in the transfer portal, that's not that's the less sexy side because it's not new and shiny, but it's also sometimes more important than going out and getting a playmaker in the transfer portal. I think Tennessee's going to have its hands full this December, making sure you keep these guys. I'm not saying they're all going to go to the portal, but it is what it is. It's, okay, I did this year. Okay, hey, I need a raise. I mean, because you'd be silly not to. I mean, but so Tennessee's got its hands, got its work cut out for it in the month of December, in my opinion.
Yeah, all that, you talk about it not being sexy, it's because it's out of the public eye, right? If Arion Carter wants a bump in pay and he goes and he asks and he gets it, nobody sees that. It's not out there versus other guys entering the portal or guys leaving or guys flirting with the portal, and then they're putting graphics out like Boo Carter and Mike Matthews say with the little Spire Sports Group logo. Like, it's not in the public eye. That's why it's not as sexy, but it's huge. And it's kind of funny. You rattling off some of these guys and being like, they're not young guys. They're older guys. Sham Umarov is a redshirt sophomore, right? And you talked about Braylon and Mike. Like, you look at this team in 2026, and yes, this coaching staff has to do their job. You got to keep it in play. You're returning a lot of guys on an offense that's up there in the top of the country in scoring, but it all comes down to quarterback play.
Yes, it does. And so my question for you, Boogie, and we're going to hit on this to conclude the show. With all that coming in, do you want to put, if you're a Tennessee fan, would you rather have a true freshman 5-star starting quarterback, a highly rated 4-star redshirt freshman starting quarterback that's got to put on some weight, or would you rather this team go and entertain the transfer portal? I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer here, and I think that you can do both, and I think that it differs from team to team, but it's an interesting concept. We talked about it on Locked On Vols on Thursday's show. I want to get your input on this. Import or develop? That's coming up next right here on your Friday Locked On Vols. We got more coming up with Boogie Bentley here to end a Friday show, talking team expectations for the program moving forward, what they should be year in and year out, but the NBA expectations for the NBA exciting games, and the expectations for FanDuel.com, FanDuel Sportsbook, is a way to put some coin in your pocket where you can make every moment more. And with the NBA right now, there's no better place to get in on all that action than over at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to those fourth quarter exciting comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team's making that late season or game push. Right now, listen up. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and FanDuel, it's where you can make every moment more. Boogie, if I told you Tuesday night's college football playoff rankings of the 25 teams, I need you to act like I didn't tell you this before, okay? So act like I didn't already tell you the answer. How many of the 25 teams have transfer starting quarterbacks?
Here's the beautiful thing, Caners. My memory is gone. It's shot. I have no idea how many you told me. I'm going to say 12 because I legit truly have no idea. I know you told me, but I have no idea what you told me.
16.
That's close. I was close.
So 16 teams. Really, it's 15 now because Pitt made a change at quarterback. And I'm sure there's one of these teams down here that I'm not familiar with that might have had an injury. But I think there's 15 teams right now in the top 25 of the CFP rankings operating with transfer quarterbacks. Now, Julian saying at Ohio State's a bit different, right? He's technically a transfer, but he was homegrown at Ohio State. Diego Pavia is a second-year player. So I'm counting all these guys. So there's some anomalies in here, but that just goes to show you the transfer quarterback obviously is the hottest market in sports. Look at last year's national championship game. Will Howard, Riley Leonard, both transfers. Look at the Heisman Trophy winner, Cam Ward, transfer. It really begs the question, should teams like Tennessee or just any team in general allocate those resources to where you try to go get some of the top premier prep high school talent at the quarterback position and just go sign a guy and then allocate those resources to go in and getting a veteran, not even like a massive Carson Beck guy that Miami, and I know that's not paying out the way they wanted to, but like that was a big get in the portal. Like Carson Beck, $4 million. I'm not even talking about that. Just go get a guy that's played a whole lot of football. I think there's different ways you can go about this. You can go get the Will Howard route. You could do the Joey Aguilar route minus the spring drama. Like take Joey Aguilar out of App State. Like that would make sense to come in and compete. Trinidad Chambliss, right? Comes in, competes with the young roster. Austin Simmons is going to be the guy, but you just go and add to it. Like in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with bringing in Faison, having George. We'll see where Jake is, and going and getting a Joey Aguilar from Appalachian State to come in and compete and see what happens. You can never have as many options because you've got to have a quarterback. If you don't, you're in trouble. But again, we live in an era where you don't want to scare anybody off. But Ole Miss can do it. Ole Miss did it last year as well with a couple different players. What say you? What's your thoughts on how the quarterback strategy and finding that guy should be? High school ranks, transfer portal, where does the money go?
I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth because I don't.
Well, I just did that, so go ahead.
I don't know what the answer is because first and foremost, you have to recruit a quarterback out of high school every single cycle. No ifs, ands, or buts, no matter what. Josh Heupel has kind of been fortunate with the way this has played out because in 2025, typically you've got your guy that's the quarterback, and then you've got your hotshot young kid that's going to hopefully be the future, right? And with Josh Heupel, you had Hendon Hooker, but then you were kind of blessed with Joe Milton, who was going to stick around and be the quarterback the following year. Then you had Joe Milton, you had Taven Jackson sandwiched in there in between, and then the hotshot young kid was Nico Iamaleava. So what happened with Taven Jackson? I'm out of here. I'm not going to beat out Nico. I'm out. Who's going to be that middle man? You were lucky because you had Gaston Moore to kind of fill that void for being QB2, a guy that is a veteran guy, a guy that knows what Josh Heupel wants to do. That's really the hardest part of this thing for me. You can get a young hotshot quarterback and develop them and turn them into a superstar, and you can have a future guy on the bench. Who's that QB2? Who's that middle guy? I don't know how you answer that question. Again, Josh Heupel's kind of been blessed, been lucky. Of course, then Nico bounces, and in comes Joey Aguilar. Once again, blessing in disguise, man. Who thought that he was going to come in here and be as good as he's been? I think you just got to wait and see, right? I think you got to wait and see if the right guy is there. But do you think George McIntyre can be QB1 we've kind of seen this thing, right? It was going to be Nico as a redshirt freshman. Then it was going to be Jake as a redshirt freshman. Then it's going to be George as a redshirt freshman. If Jake leaves, we're looking at a quarterback competition of similar, similar skill sets. They're not proven. We don't know. George McIntyre, redshirt freshman, Faison Brandon, true freshman. Even if you don't go get a starter, who's going to be the backup? Is it going to be Faison Brandon, a guy who's injured right now? Like we've not even really seen him play in his senior season of high school football. I don't have the answer, Cainer. It's the toughest position group in college football right now when it comes to transfer portal, NIL funds. I don't know how you handle it. I don't know what the answer is.
And you got to get it right. Because again, if you don't, even last year, Nico didn't light up any scoreboards or anything, but for the most part, Nico did not make mistakes. He did not make mistakes that cost you games. He would go make you a play or two, and he leaned on the run game and the defense, right? Nico was not a game breaker, but Nico was not bad, in my opinion. A lot of people will be different with that. But you got to have a quarterback if you're going to win at a high level because, we've seen this team and this program go south in a hurry when you don't have a quarterback. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. What
about this, though? Do you think Nico, you saying Nico, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. He didn't really go out and win you ball games, but he also didn't go out and cost you ball games. But what people don't want to talk about with Nico, and I can't believe we're sitting here talking about Nico in the middle of November, but it is what it is. What people don't want to talk about is that he was a redshirt freshman. You expect Nico going into year 3, had he not left, had he stuck it out with Tennessee, you expect him to grow and mature and get better. But because he left, thankfully Joey came in, we would have been looking at another redshirt freshman in Jake. Now Jake's going to leave. We're staring at another redshirt freshman in George. They're not getting that opportunity or that time to develop and grow and learn the system because it's either transfer for money or transfer for playing time. Don't you think Nico would have gotten better in 2025? And you can look at what he did at UCLA. You can look at – that's a train wreck out there. UCLA is a train wreck. That's not even a fair comparison. What he's doing in 2025.
Listen, my whole thing all offseason until he left was, Nico's got another level. Nico's going to hit that level year 3, I mean, yeah, I wholeheartedly thought he was going to be better this year. I thought that he could maybe not reach all his potential, but certainly get close to it. in this offense in year 3. But even though he transfers to UCLA and he has had his lumps at points and times, I mean, that's a different system, different coaches fired. Like, there's a lot of abnormal stuff over there to where if he stayed here, who knows how good he could have been. But regardless, any way you want to spin it, I think that, like, I am so interested to see what Tennessee's going to do this offseason, because I think you got to go get a quarterback. Like, you have, say everybody stays. Faison comes in, Jake's here, Max here. You have so much inexperience still. Like, go, again, this is where I say you don't have to go get the Carson back in the portal. Like, go get a Joey Aguilar. Go get a Trinidad Chambliss. Go get somebody who's played maybe at a lower level, but has played so much football, a veteran that's played a ton of football, come in here and compete at minimum. So I think it's you and I both have talked out of both sides of our mouth, because I'm pumped. I don't want Faison to leave. I want Faison to come in here and ball out. And I said this the other day on the show, everybody starts out as a freshman at some point, right? So, like, these transfers we're talking about, they were freshmen at some point as well. Like, I want it all, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Tennessee goes about this, because we've been so focused on Joey and playoffs and all this type of stuff that, and the season's still going on, right? And so it's to nobody's fault, but, like, we haven't really thought about that position next year an awful lot. Speaking of which, last thing, 60 seconds. What should the expectations for Tennessee be every single year? Every year. What would a failure be for Tennessee football in 2026?
I think it's fair to say that a failure is not making the college football playoff. Now, just because you don't make the playoff, that doesn't mean that I start screaming and yelling and wanting to fire coordinators and coaches and make this big drastic change. I think Josh Heupel needs to evaluate himself. I think he needs to really decide if him calling plays is what's best as the head coach at Tennessee. I think you got to look at your defensive staff, see if you can make improvements there. But for me, the goal should always be college football playoff. And shout out to Ramon Foster. He's the one that said this, and I think it sums it up perfectly. I'm not one to sit here and complain about 10-win seasons. It's been a minute since we've had a coach that brought us 10-win seasons. Does that mean I'm satisfied and that's where I want to sit? No, I want a national championship, but I want a head coach. And again, Ramon Foster's words, I want a head coach that has me knocking on the door every single year. And that means 10-win seasons. That means college football playoff. And then when the time is right, when it's our time, you're in position, you go make the plays and you go win a national championship. That's always the goal. National championship, SEC championship, chasing championships. But that doesn't mean if I have a 10-win season, a 9-win season, and I fall short, that I want to burn the program to the ground, because I can look backwards and I can remember where we were, and I can also look ahead and say where we're at right now is not where I want to be. But what Josh Heupel has done has been phenomenal. If you don't think what Josh Heupel has built in 5 years is satisfactory for where we've been as a program, maybe go to Wikipedia and search winning percentage for head coaches at Tennessee and see whose company he's keeping with winning percentage.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good for sure. I think in the 12-team era, in the hunt, taking that from Josh Heupel, Tennessee's new baseball coach, in the hunt, you got to be in the hunt every single year. If you're not, like Tennessee was in the hunt this year. I guess what I'm trying to say, if you're not in the hunt by the end of September, failure. If you're not in the hunt at all to begin, like, you should never enter the season saying, yeah, maybe 7 wins, maybe 8 wins. Like, no, that's a failure. If you're in the hunt and then get bowed out there as November starts or in the month of November, okay. Yeah, especially let's see how this team responds. You need to be in the hunt. If and when, it's when. They got to vote by December the 1st. This thing goes to 16 teams. I think you got to be in the playoff every year. And that's not something I say lightly, because I'm not the boldest of bold, like, hosts, but I feel like your 16-team playoff and 9-3 team in the SEC is probably going to have a really good chance of getting in. Yeah. And Tennessee's schedule, year in and year out, like, there's going to be opportunities to get those signature wins. So I think 16-team playoff, if you miss out on the playoff, that's just, I don't want to say failure. That's disappointing in my opinion. So my point in all this is that's where the expectations should be. So everybody's saying, oh, this is such a failure. This is such a failure of a season. Hold up now. Like, it's disappointing because of the way you started with your quarterback. Like, I hear you. And also expectations change, and we'll talk about this all offseason. But, man, you beat Florida, do something you hadn't done in a couple of years down the swamp, more than a couple of years. You spoil Vandy. You finish with a bowl win. Again, like you said, that's 10 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. It's hard for me to call that a failure, especially with your quarterback leaving on the last day of spring practice. That is Locked On Vols here today. Talked a lot about the future a little bit here with Boogie Bentley, but Tennessee, New Mexico State's coming up tomorrow. Boogie, final score prediction out the door. Tennessee what? New Mexico State what?
I think I had it 66-10, total domination. Get George McIntyre, get the young guys out there, and let's just go handle business, get out, and let's go take care of the Gators. Let's go do something we haven't done in a minute. And all those people that are disappointed, let's end this thing on a high note. And I get it. Nobody cares about bowl games, but let's finish this thing with 10 wins, and let's live with disappointment of a 10-win season.
Boogie, as always, man, thanks so much.
Appreciate it. We'll catch up soon.
Good stuff today from Boogie Bentley of the Talking Vols Network. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, I don't know why you hadn't, but if you haven't, go ahead and do that. He and the boys do great work and really appreciate the collaboration. I'm on his shows Monday mornings, like a little Monday morning football weekend review, and he comes on to set the scene on Fridays right here on Locked On Vols. So good conversations, expectations, what they should be moving forward, that quarterback strategy, revisiting what should that be for Tennessee. Underclassmen, we expect to ball out in a game like this, cupcake game. That is Tennessee and New Mexico State coming up tomorrow, 4:15 on the SEC Network. All right, we'll be right here on Locked On Vols post-game tomorrow night, late tomorrow night, maybe early Sunday morning, so we'll have some immediate reaction to Tennessee's, boy, it better be a big win, meaning the scoreboard-wise, better be a big win over New Mexico State. All that and more is coming up this weekend right here on Locked On Vols. And then, hey, get this one behind you. I don't care what year it is. I don't care what the records are. It's Tennessee. It's Florida. That's coming up next week. All that and more right here on Locked On Vols.